From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow.
Wow.
And I am here with Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer.
How do you do?
How are you? James St. James.
Woo!
I think at this point needs no introduction.
I agree.
And Blake, our producer, of course.
I think James just stole my woo-wee introduction.
We were all separately planning wooies today.
Woo-wee!
Let's start the countdown. Top 10 things of the week that's made us go woo-wee. Number 10.
Number 10.
Guys, if you're watching the news or reading the newspaper, there's some bad stuff going on. We're living in very divisive times, and it's been an incredibly divisive week. But something even worse could have happened that was averted. I'm going to take this on a light tone because we're a light show, which is, hello, gorgeous. How about hello, Ozempic? Barbra Streisand on Melissa McCarthy's.
Wow, that was a tortured lead-in.
It's good. I love it.
Wow, that was a long walk.
Worthy of Rachel Maddow.
I'm just trying to stay relevant, people. Keep right into what's going on today. But Barbra Streisand, who is not a young woman, I bet you she's 80 now, and TMZ and different, this is what I hate about society right now. Everybody's like, oh my God, people are shocked and angry at Barbra Streisand for saying Melissa McCarthy went to some event on Sunday night with Adam Shankman, choreographer, director from RuPaul's Drag Race and many other things. They both look fantastic. And Barbara posts on the picture, she goes, "You look fantastic. Are you on Ozempic?" And the world went crazy. According to TMZ, all of Melissa's fans went ballistic. How dare you? How dare you shame size Ozempic eyes, all that kind of stuff. Melissa McCarthy took it all in stride. She put a post going, Barbra Streisand knows who I am, and she thinks I look nice. I'll take it. And Barbara's like, listen, I got on Instagram to look at the flowers that I had posted. Just to look. I guess she didn't want to see them in the house. She wanted to actually see the post of the flowers. And underneath my flowers was Melissa McCarthy. And I forgot I was talking to the whole world. But it kind of brings up, we've talked about Ozempic before, but to me, it's like, they say from the mouth of babes comes the truth. Also from the mouth of older people who just aren't so caught up in the play. Every time you see someone who's lost weight, you think like, are you on Ozempic? It's not a bad thing.
But why not? Where does this idea of Ozempic shaming even come from?
Me from when I was at James guys.
But I just love that everything is turned into clickbait. Everything is polarized. It's a loose connection, and please don't think I'm being insensitive, but it's what's going on. Everyone has to pick a side, everybody. And I love that Barbara and Melissa just were like, oh, please. Oh, please.
I think the thing is when it's approached like that and dealt with like that, there is no shame and there is nothing. It's absolutely wonderful and fabulous. It's when people start lying about it and trying to hide it and obfuscate and all that stuff, that's when my eyebrow starts to rise, when there was a certain someone who has battled weight for 40 years and all of a sudden came out stick thin and refused to acknowledge it. That's when I was like, girl, come on.
She has never admitted one way or the other if she's on Ozempic. It's nobody's business. I just don't care. Let people say stuff. I go back to my phrase, which is like, you can please some of the people, all the people. Okay, here we go. You can please all the people some of the time, and you can please some of the people all the time.
But you
can piss off all the people all the time. That's the way to do it.
I have a feeling the fact that Melissa McCarthy is so beloved and took it with such elan, and she's just, there's everything about her is just wonderful, that I don't see any way that anyone could be upset with any of this.
Hey, and do you think Barbra Streisand has a vendetta to no. Kind of turf war with her? No. So be more like Barbara, be more like Melissa. Everybody, please see the good in other people.
So less rage, more Ozempic.
Yes. All right. Hello, Ozempic.
Number 9, James.
Number 9.
Baby Reindeer, Baby Reindeer, Baby
Oh
Reindeer
my God.
on Netflix. My God, it is absolutely batshit insane. It is bonkers. Fenton, have you watched it?
I'm halfway through.
Okay. Blake, you've watched it.
I have watched it.
I'm scared to watch it.
It touches on greatness. There are moments that are absolutely some of the best TV you'll be watching all year. It is a shoe-in for the Emmys, but it is really uncomfortable around that 5th and 6th episode where you're like, oh! Just your jaw keeps dropping open wider and wider and wider. Anyway, it's the story of this sort of sad sack failed comedian who works at a bar, and one day he mistakenly befriends this girl who wanders in, and the girl is batshit insane. She's a big girl, big personality, lies like a rug, just absolutely. And slowly she starts to insinuate herself into his life, and she starts sending 100 emails a day, and they keep getting dirtier and crazier and dirty. And as he tries to get rid of her, push her away, she starts getting angry, and it sort of goes from there.
But then he also like plays into it sometimes.
Well, that's because it started as it's a true story, and it started as a one-man show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and then it went on to the West End from there, and it won all sorts of awards. But the idea that he likes to explore is the fact that he's this needy black hole of attention need, and that he's at one point, I don't even want to talk about what I'm talking about, right, Blake, when he starts. And so, and also at the same time, there's a concurrent storyline in which he flashes back and he was sexually abused by a male mentor of his. And that's really hard to watch. Some of that is really uncomfortable.
Well, and there's that whole scandal of everyone, because, everyone's an internet sleuth now. And everyone is trying to figure out who the people actually are, and the guy.
But everyone knows exactly who Martha is. She's like, it's a true story.
Yeah.
Everybody is identifiable. Everybody has been identified. Martha is on the internet. It just feels very...
They did identify him? I didn't know that.
Her.
Oh, just Martha.
Well, I know that she has come
What do you mean just Martha? I mean, like...
Well, no, because they're trying to figure out who the mentor guy is, and like they've ruined this other guy's life.
Oh, Scott Foley, I think, was his mentor. Yeah,
right.
But in real life, that wasn't the guy that he's talking about.
Oh, so, careful. Make that.
But everyone has accused that guy of it. So it's like
Scott Foley from Kids in the Hall,
right?
But you're talking the actor, not the real person, correct?
No, the actor, the guy who plays him is the real person, and he plays himself in this. He plays the thinly veiled, but the actress who plays her is an actress, and then he's also in love with a trans woman, who's played by.
But Scott Foley is not the guy who raped him. No.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I'm trying to clarify.
Yeah, let's get that.
I have a legal. I'm like Sunny House on the View. I have a legal statement I need to say. The other question I have, and maybe you can't tell me, maybe it's a spoiler, but why is it called Baby Reindeer?
Well, that's what she keeps calling him, like nipples and hey baby, and she keeps saying that he looks like a baby reindeer. So she says, hey baby reindeer. That's one of the things. And then at the very end, you find out why she has such an affinity towards baby reindeers in the last episode.
Okay.
But
I feel I'm always out of step because I really do not like it at all. And I find it really hard going. And
it is. It's supposed to be.
I guess I don't like trauma porn, and I feel it's punishingly nihilistic. And it weirdly reminds me of
Joker.
I May Destroy You, the Michaela Cole series, because that too was a series created by the central character who plays themselves, based on a true story, but with little bits, a little bit fictionalized. And you wonder, even though Michaela Cole represents herself as a flawed person in the same way that is it Paul Gadd or Richard Gadd,
Richard
portrays
Gadd, yeah.
himself as a complex, flawed person. You wonder, I find myself wondering, well, what have you left out or skewed? Because the whole thing, like, I get it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, but I would prefer to feel uncomfortable watching The Comeback. That's the kind of level of discomfort I'm comfortable with. But this is...
There is parts that I had to fast forward through because his comedy acts are so cringe that I can't do them. And they go on for like, 10 minutes and you're like, as he just keeps bombing more and more and more. And it's just so uncomfortable. But I do think that the like I said, that trans actress, Nava Mao, who plays Terry, I think she's just luminous. I think she's defined. I think I know he already has 2 new Netflix series coming out. I mean, he's not going away anytime soon. And the actress, I thought the stalker girl, I thought she was fantastic too. I mean, I just think like I said, it touches on greatness, but it's also so cringe that you can't watch parts of it, and it's maybe not for everyone, I guess. But I suggest it.
All right, Tom, I think you've got to watch it. Or
I found The Comeback too cringy for me, and you're telling me that this is worse.
Well, the great thing about The Comeback is it's all made up. I mean, based in truth, I guess. But
unless you're Shelley Long, and then it's not all made up. But other than
Tom,
that,
I think you could watch the first episode and then make up your mind from there, because the first episode is sort of like a story in and of itself.
All right. Well, that's Baby Reindeer. Yeah. All right, now I'm going to lighten the mood. Number 8.
Number 8.
Sexsomnia. Have you ever heard of Sexsomnia?
no, but I think I have it.
From it every single evening.
Sexsomnia. Maybe this could be a Netflix series. It's one of the parasomnias, like sleep disorders, like sleepwalking, sleep talking, sleep eating, sleep terrors.
Got them all.
But in Sexsomnia, you will be sound asleep and you will suddenly start moaning, maybe masturbating, maybe cuddling up to your partner. You kind of have sex, and you have sex in your sleep, and you have no idea that you are doing it. And when you wake up in the morning and someone turns to you and says, "What were you doing last night?" You're like, you deny it. You are like, absolutely not. And apparently this is a disorder that ruins lives.
I think I know a lot of sluts that have this.
I think I know a lot of people who pretend to have it and use it as a convenient excuse for some bad sex that they had.
I was wondering if it explains the virgin birth.
That is blasphemy. Oh my gosh, Tom Campbell. You talk about living in polarized times and throwing gasoline on the fire.
Right?
Oh my God. We're going to get canceled. So Dr. Carla Schenk is a professor and senior staff psychiatrist at the Hennepin, Hennepin County Medical Center at the University of Minnesota. He's studying sexsomnia, and he says it's actually very difficult to study, but he did succeed in studying it with a woman, or rather a husband whose wife would just in the middle of the night start moaning and masturbating and calling out the name of co-workers, male co-workers. So he thought she was having an affair, and their marriage was like, he in the morning he said, what were you doing last night? She absolutely denied it. And it was only when their son, overheard her moaning that she recognized, this was after 10 years of this, that she had a problem, and she saw.
He put up with her doing that for 10 years?
10 years, 10 unwanted children later, she finally believed them.
Right. No one knows what causes sexsomnia. Just an alert here.
Sounds like some buried trauma there surfacing in your dreams, right?
Could be. Having obstructive sleep apnea could be a trigger. They can prescribe various drugs, like the restless leg syndrome medication has been proven to help
you from masturbating in your sleep.
Apparently so. In her case, she quit her high stress job and has slept soundly ever since. So it could be, I guess.
It sounds like she got away from the hot guys in the office, and that's what she was doing it because
tight suit pants.
Right.
So that was, I was just surprised that it was on CNN, you know. Yeah.
You know, my recurring.
Why does this speak to you, Fenton? What is it about this? Do you have any personal experience with this?
Sexsomnia?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I lead the
aware
life
of.
of none.
I have a story for another time. No, I'm kidding. The recurring dream I'm having lately, which kind of frightens me because they're based, you know, it's the, oh, I didn't take the test. Oh, I'm naked on the play. I start to lose my shit with someone at work. And then I just go.
That is real. That is you.
No, worse than in real life. And I just taste the bile in my throat, and I go deeper, and I go deeper, and I go deeper. And then I look and I think, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. It's like someone at the office. It does different people just being like,
It better not be me.
Is it? This is not to draw you into it. Is it a specific? Is it me?
Is it me?
I don't think you've been in it yet, but I will have one tonight. It's not even about a person. It's just the idea that I lose my shit.
Well, like, Tom, I think that's buried trauma right there that you need to resolve and think about because it comes out in your dreams, baby.
No, I'm coughing.
I know now. It's uncomfortable because your body is reacting to what I just said.
Oh my God. I'd rather have sexsomnia because it'd be more time efficient to get my masturbation done during my sleep hours.
I mean,
I'm just saying what I'm thinking, like Barbra Streisand. Okay, hello.
Oh no.
Hello, sexsomnia.
It's genuinely
getting into Tom Sophia Petrillo phase where he's had a stroke or two and he can't quite control what comes out of his mouth anymore.
Let's take a break. Drag Me to the Movies premieres May 15th on WOWPresents Plus. Get ready for parodies of your favorite blockbusters in Drag Me to the Movies from the makers, of course, the genius makers of and it stars Crystal Method, Kelly Mantel, Daya Betty, Ginger Minge, James Mansfield, Jimbo, Jujubee, Mayhem Miller, Cher Coulee. I mean, it is an all-star cast.
Well, I have a question for you guys. Now, I only found this one on Facebook, so I don't know the validity of it, but I found it very interesting. When a clown wants to trademark their makeup, how do they do that?
Oh, I know.
We'll have the answer right after the break here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. It's Fenton here with James and Tom and Blake. You had a question, Blake.
I asked, when a clown wants to trademark their makeup, how do they do that? And James St. James, of course, says he knows, so because he is a clown.
I think they take a Polaroid and send it to the Library of Congress.
Okay. Fenton?
I think they have to put it on a red nose and submit a red nose.
No, James.
They make a doll and send it to the Ringling Brothers or something.
They have to paint it on an egg that is stored in a special clown egg warehouse.
That's yes, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
You're cracking me up.
Let me see if
I did it again.
Joke's on you.
Counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. We've reached number 7.
Number 7.
Steve Martin documentary on Apple TV Plus. One man, 2 documentaries. Yes, 2 documentaries, which seems indulgent, and yet it's kind of cleverly done. It's done by Morgan Neville, who did, the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and so many. He's a great documentarian. And the first sort of hour and a half before or then, I think it's called Then, is it's kind of straightforward, archive driven, just voiceover. You don't see anybody today. You hear people's voices, and it chronicles Steve's childhood, which was perfect on the outside, Orange County, harsh, sort of mean father, and how he found his escape at Disneyland when he got his job there. And he worked in the magic shop, and he put arrows through his head, and he wore bunny ears, and he learned magic tricks. And if you know Steve Martin's act, that's exactly what it is. So it's one of these things. I remember when there was a Linda Ronstadt documentary, she's like, the 5 albums we had in our house growing up are the ones that influenced my entire career. It's so funny how their basic essence is so imprinted so early. And he was always trying to get please people. He could never please his father. And it's really about the 15 years that he was a struggling actor. He was always good looking. He had girlfriends all the time, but he never seemed to be deeply involved with them because he was trying to make it and trying to get ahead. And he was, of course, from the 50s and 60s. So it was very, conventional comedy. And he makes this analogy, and they show a clip of Bob Hope, of all people, sort of saying, like, telling some kind of corny jokes. And it's like, there's the setup, which creates the tension. And then there's the punchline, which releases the tension. So you laugh, even if it's not funny. And he said, I questioned, this is in the 60s, and it was radical at the time. He goes, what if he just kept the tension going the entire act? And people just start to get uncomfortable and squirm and genuinely laugh. They don't laugh because they're cute to. They are just, they have to deal with it. And one of the ways they deal with it, sometimes, early on, he was not popular. But, he's a storied career. He worked in the Sonny and Cher show. He worked in the Smothers Brothers as a writer. But this is all before he was, quote unquote, famous. And he opened for everybody, he said. He opened for all these different people. He was always the troubadour. He opened for Linda Ross, he's part of that whole rock and roll scene. But rock and roll was to the 60s and 70s and largely because of Steve Martin, what comedy became. And he kind of just found his rhythm. And he also said that his hair turning white, because he was so ridiculous, the older he looked, the better it was, because he wasn't just juvenile. He was like this authority who was screwy, And Saturday Night Live came at the same time. And together, Saturday Night Live, which he was just a guest host of, several times, but the wild and crazy guy, in my high school cafeteria,
Funky touch.
Yes. And between 1975 and 1980, he became the richest, most successful comedian in the world because, he retired to stand up in 1980. He was selling out stadiums, never done before. It's amazing. The second part is him today, in his house, in his car, and it's sort of meta because it's like he invites over Martin Short, his friend who's doing the Only Murders in the Building, and Martin's like, geez, he goes, it's kind of weird as being sitting here playing cards waiting for them to capture something, it's like, they go bike ride and he goes, if I ran you off the road, that would make the documentary. So it's very funny. But you realize as you grow older, you either become the worst version of yourself or the best version of yourself. And he'd like to think, I'm saying that he's become the best version of himself. He's never been happier. He actually has a wife. He has a child, as he refuses to have pictured, but he just seems kind of happy. And the thing that I forgot, and there's not enough time to talk about it, is all of his amazing movies. But again, kind of a showbiz narcissist. You hate him.
No. The Jerk changed my life. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid is absolutely brilliant. LA Stories is just,
yes.
So many that are just absolutely brilliant.
All of me, even the corny ones like Father the Bride are good. And, each movie he would be so upset if it did do well. And he had ups and downs. But it's funny because I'm sure he's thinking about his clout in his box office because of cable, because of VHS rentals and DVD rentals. Every Steve Martin movie is famous, trains, cars, and automobiles, cars.
That's so good. That's one of the best Christmas movies ever.
I have a question. Was his hair always white?
No, he was premature. It was like probably 73. It started to change.
So that was a real gift.
Early 30s.
Yeah. I think that was such a gift. It just made him like somehow irresistible. Yeah.
And they talk about Victoria Tennant, who he was married to at one point. And he said, I can't blame her for a relationship. I can maybe blame us, but I'd probably blame me. But he ended up meeting his current wife. She was a fact checker at the New Yorker when he would write articles. And they started talking on the phone and they fell in love. So there's,
I forgot to mention Pennies from Heaven, which is probably my favorite musical of all time. It's
okay. I take your Pennies from Heaven and I add All of Me with Lily Tomlin.
Okay, yeah.
What a great movie. What a great movie.
So that's Steve Martin, One Life, Two Dogs, streaming on Apple Plus. Number 666, James.
Number 6.
Dead Boy Detectives on Netflix. It's a new series. They're dead, they're boys, and they're detectives.
Okay.
It's two
Thanks for
ghosts.
that review, James. Thank you. Moving on.
They're two ghosts. They're very cute. They team up with a psychic girl who solves supernatural mysteries. It's more original and more fun than I just made it sound, because it's from the mind of Neil Gaiman, and it's set in his Sandman universe. It was a series of graphic novels and comic books for many years. And the two boys, one is an Edwardian schoolboy who was murdered by bullies at his private school when he was young, and then the other is a 90s sort of club kid who's really adorable. And they team up together, and they leap through mirrors, that they travel through mirrors, and they have this knapsack with a universe inside of it that they can grab anything out. I mean, it's just absolutely bonkers and crazy and insane. It's sort of just nonstop goofy action, and all. There's also witches and ghosts, and it's sort of Scooby-Doo.
Are they gay? Do they have sex?
Well, we don't quite know yet, because it seems like both of the actors are gay. It just does. I'm sorry to put that out there. I don't know anything about their sex lives, but I do hear that people have said, I've only gotten through 3 episodes, but they say that there's LGBTQ characters that are sort of woven in and out very naturally, and it's done very tastefully, and we don't know yet about the one boy. The Edwardian boy sort of seems a little fruity to me, but
So we don't really know their origin story, how they came to be partners in crime. Is that correct?
We know their deaths. We know how they died, and we know that.
But how do they connect? We don't know.
We don't know yet. We know that they're on the run from death, and Death is a woman from the Sandman series, and she's just lovely, and you love her. And whenever she comes, you just she just talks you into dying, and she takes your hand and takes you into the afterlife. But they're on the run from her, and they're on the run from some other afterlife.
But they are dead.
They're dead. Yes, they're ghosts.
I see.
Well, this reminds me a lot of Ghosts that I really like. On CBS.
The CBS show.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Do you remember a show called Randall and Hopkirk Deceased?
No.
This was back in the 60s or 70s, and it was 2 detectives who were dead. I think they both wore white suits, and they solved cases.
Well, no, the cute thing about this one is the little Edwardian boy has this really cute Edwardian little suit with the big Edwardian collar, and then the other boy is sort of like dangly earrings, and he's all very sort of ravery. He's very cute. So it's the outfits that make their little look.
It sounds like a James St. James lookbook. Their outfits.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun, and I just sort of fell into it, and I'm enjoying it immensely.
I did read an interview with the 2 actors, and they said they fell in love at first sight. And I don't know if they were just being actory, talking about sort of admiration for their mutual creative process and what have you, or whether it's a bit more,
It could very well be. Their names are George Rextrew and Jaden Ravi. I imagine very good things happening to their careers.
Oh, marvelous. All right. Is that on Netflix?
Yes.
All right. Number 5.
Number 5.
I'm going to raise the tone by talking about pre-pee stained pants. It's the new fashion.
Pee stained pants right here.
How is that different from Sexsomnia?
Exactly. It's the new fashion trend. Look, let's face it, the Met Ball is coming up, so it's time to talk about fashion. And I guess this has just gone sort of viral, if you will, like pictures of a model on a runway with a sort of wet area in his groin. And people are commenting and everything that the jeans are made by designers Jordan Bowen and Luca Marchetto. They're London-based British-Italian designers who go under the name of Jordan Luca, all one word, Jordan Luca. The jeans cost you $811. You can get it in them 2 shades of pea stained, a lighter wash, as it were. And all I could really learn about them was that they met 11 years ago, waiting in line for the toilets at the Joiners Arms, which is a pub in the East End of London. And I guess they hit it off, and And here we are with pea-stained pants.
Are they scratch and sniff?
You're invited to a party where you
Yes.
can wear your pea-stained pants.
I know, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Just in time for my prostate to swell and for me to be dripping all the time comes this fashion trend to cover up my own incontinence. I can't wait.
I did do a little desultory research, and there's a Snopes article like, is it real? And apparently it is real. But in 2021, there was a website called wetpantsdenim.com.
I remember.
And they also market pre-pea stained pants. And I feel they've got their marketing down. They're like, it's the wet look with a dry feel. You can own the aesthetic without the discomfort. And they are arguing that this is a look that is having a moment. And they to bolster that, they posted pictures of celebrities who appear to have wet their pants, but they've all been
Tara Reid.
They've all been digitally altered. So I don't
How
know.
dare you? One of our first shows, James talked about this fashion show where everyone was either wet or dripping in goo. Remember that?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well,
It may have been cummy.
I can imagine Barbra Streisand posting, "You look wonderful. Did you pee your pants?"
But I do know that, like, cake farting, that peeing your pants for the camera is a big OnlyFans thing. It's it's if women with
What is cake? Can we back up? What is cake farting?
Oh, Fenton, you know what cake farting is.
I have no idea. What are you talking about?
Cake
Will you talk
farting.
about some cake farting here?
I can't find the video anymore, but there used to be this girl and she goes, "You know what I like? Cake farts." And she gets on top of the cake and she farts.
And then you eat the cake.
Do you eat the cake?
Yes, of course.
I think it's a new
That's where-
Netflix series coming out called "Is It Cake Farting?"
This is like 10 years old. This is a big
Or more.
Okay.
Yeah, we've all been into cake farts and
Tale as old as time.
Oh, there you go. That's so. Oh, by the way, Wet Pants Denim also make hats. They say on their
how do you
website.
pee on your hat? That's my question.
What?
How do you pee? How would you pee on your hat?
Maybe you're changing a newborn.
Oh, there you go.
It just says no. You just have it's just the logo with like wet look, dry feel on it. There's no pee stain on the hat.
Oh, okay.
And by
Quote of the show goes to Blake. Maybe you're changing a newborn. Just think about that.
okay, let's take a quick pee break.
Or just sit in your pants and pee while we go to commercial.
RuPaul's Drag Race Live Untucked captures what really happens behind the curtain of the hottest show on the Las Vegas Strip. That's right, Drag Race Live on the Strip with Alexis Mateo, Bosco, Coco Montrez, Derek Barry, Karen Davenport, Pangina Heels, Lawrence Cheney.
Great cast, great premise. It's like it's better than Untucked. It's the regular show. It's chock full of fun and people you love. And anyway, watch.
I loved it. I've watched it. Yeah, I've loved it.
And you can watch that, of course, on WOWPresents Plus, or just go to Vegas and see the show at RuPaul's DragRaceLive.com. Get your tickets. Yes.
Wow. If you're watching, Tom just set off some balloons.
Cake farted. He just cake farted.
Gross. Well, I have a question. The highest recorded mileage on a car is what kind of car? Like what brand?
James, can you go check your car?
We'll have the answer right here on the WOW Report after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders WOW Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the WOW Report. Fenton here with Blake, Tom, James. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. But first, the answer to Blake's question.
Yeah, very exciting question this week. The car that has the most miles on it is what kind of brand? What brand car?
I want to believe it's an American brand, but I think it would be a Toyota.
Oh, I'm gonna say like a Chevy.
I'll go with Rolls-Royce.
It's a Volvo.
I should have known that.
They were the last word in safety back in the day, weren't they? They were like built like tanks. Should we continue with the countdown?
Let's do
Number 4.
Number 4.
convergence of things that make me talk about something, and that something is Starbucks. But I woke up to the news and it said that Starbucks earlier this week, and Starbucks stock had plummeted like 17% because they had horrible quarterly earnings. Foot traffic is down around the world, in America, et cetera, et cetera. Coincidentally, I'm up really early. I did some things early in the morning. I'm coming to work at 8:30. Would you mark this down, Fenton? I came to work at 8:30. But on my way, I thought, I'm going to stop, which I don't do anymore, because since COVID, sort of stopped going to Starbucks. Since taking Ozempic, stopped craving coffee as much. But I was up early and I went into so I parked on the street, and this is boring, but I don't do this anymore. I parked at a meter. I went to the Starbucks right here down the street here in Hollywood Boulevard. And, it's been reconstructed. So, because of the homeless problem. So there's no place to sit. There's no place to lean. There's no place to place anything. So we get in line, and now you order your coffee. And my whole goal at Starbucks is to get it as fast as I can. Because, I'm a reformed addict, so I just want coffee inside of me. But now they have basically little grinder coffee. Every cup of coffee is fresh, but you have to wait just a little bit longer as they ground the coffee like it's a Keurig. And so then I wait for someone to put like a splash of half and half. It took forever. I don't blame the employees because they're clearly overworked and they have too many things going on. There's the food thing, but I was there a really long time. And all I could think of was like, this is a dying business. This isn't working. This is not functional.
It's so interesting what you say, because it used to be that you didn't mind waiting in line for Starbucks because the vibe at Starbucks was sort of convivial. It was almost WeWorky kind of thing. And you could always use the bathroom.
Yes.
But now they've closed a lot of the bathrooms too.
Yes.
Like you got to pee.
Michael Mejia, who works here in development, said many, many years ago, I think even before they had food, when he was a young man, he worked at a Starbucks, and they used to be trained to think of it as the third place. So there's home, there's the office, and there's Starbucks. And for so many reasons, that's no longer there. Now, the head of Starbucks right now is saying, we're going to get them back because we're going to have low-calorie energy drinks starting this summer. And I guess there was like a lavender flavor or something they introduced. I just started reading about it, and it's just like nothing's kind of working. And I'm not like a crazy, I hope, angry old man who's like, things aren't the way they used to be. Of course they're not. Things are going to evolve. But Starbucks, which used to be so central to our lives, we still have people bring it in, and drink it, but it's not what it used to be. I don't know what I want to like have us brainstorm here on air.
I think it's not about the coffee or the drinks or anything. I think it's about the vibe and the feel, and that once you lost that sense of security and comfort, there was
that whole era where every blogger would go to a coffee tea and leaves or a Starbucks and sit and blog, and you would get a seat and you'd stay there for 4 or 5 hours, and people would come and go and chat with you, and it was like a party scene. It was a whole thing.
Starbucks in Palm Springs, they didn't just close the bathroom, which they did at first. Then they closed you couldn't walk through, you had to drive through, and then they just gave up and closed the whole thing altogether. I mean,
there's been a lot of closing. So
it's a real problem.
Well, I still get my blueberry muffin from Starbucks whenever I pass one, and there's a Starbucks at both of the grocery stores that I go to, so I tend to do that a lot. I don't get any drinks, but I can't imagine that coffee drinking is down in any way. I mean,
I think it is, because I think younger generation drinks less coffee than you drink more tea and things, and it's very, very expensive. Like I always go for like a grande drip, but when you get like all the fancy ones, they are $6, $7, $8.
That's why I always say WOWPresents Plus, less than the price of a latte, but so much more.
You need to change that to much less than a latte. Anyway,
well,
I'll keep you posted on the Starbucks story as further news breaks.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Number 3.
Number 3.
I'm about to really bring it down here for a minute. I'm very sorry about this one. I'm sorry that I have to do this, but Paul Auster, literary author, died this week at 77 from lung cancer. Paul was revered by the literati as a postmodernist god. His books like New York Trilogy, City of Glass, Leviathan, 4321, Book of Illusions are classics. I know Paul because I knew his son, Daniel, quite well. Daniel was Michael Ailig's boyfriend, and he was a beautiful, beautiful boy, as Paul Auster was a beautiful, beautiful man. But he was a demon. He was a bad seed. And both Paul and his wife, Siri, have written books of thinly veiled fiction about raising a bad seed child. And we know that Daniel was in the room when Michael and Freeze murdered Angel Melendez. And we were never able to say that because Michael and Freeze, for whatever reason, never implicated him. And his father, Paul, allegedly made a backdoor deal with Brooklyn District Attorney Robert Morgenthau to make sure that he was never indicted or charged with anything. And then Daniel disappeared for many years and went to go live in New Hampshire, I think, where the family summer house is. But and this is where the story takes a darker, even darker turn, is that he came back, and 2 years ago, Daniel woke up in the afternoon and his 2-year-old daughter, Rose, who was sleeping next to him, was dead. She had gotten into his stash of heroin and fentanyl, and she died. And then he was arrested. Paul bailed him out with $100,000, and 4 days later, Daniel was found dead on the subway platform in Brooklyn. I think there's generational trauma in there as well, where, Paul's father didn't speak to him for many years, wouldn't look at him for many years. They lived in the same house, and the father wouldn't even look at him. We don't know why. He wrote a book about that. His grandfather murdered his grandmother. So there's so much story there. I do think that it needs to be a documentary series. It's one of those, talk about trauma porn though, where there's just so much sadness and horror in that family. But seeing people laud Paul Auster and everything brings up the Paul that I knew, where Daniel always talked horribly about his father. And so it's very personal to me, this whole story, and it just brings up all sorts of sad moments.
Was he still with Siri Hofstede?
I think no, Siri and he divorced, but Siri was the one who had written a book too about Daniel, about marrying a man whose son was just a wild child demon.
Maybe you should write a book about the Auster legacy, James.
There you go. Maybe. Daniel was somebody who had these big eyes, big cow eyes, and could just seduce anyone into loving him, even though he was nominally scarier and more dangerous than Michael Ailig, and Michael was always shocked at how, Daniel would say, let's go beat up orphans, or let's go break into the old folks' home and steal their dentures, or, his ideas. Daniel was just one of those people who could out crazy Michael. And that's just very crazy. It's just, he was a character.
Little lost for a segue.
I'm sorry.
Just going to say number 2.
Number 2.
Ho Ho No. This Christmas movie. It's a Christmas movie that was supposed to come out last Christmas, 2023, starring The Rock. It's called The Red One, or just Red One, I think. Red One, like Air Force One, or Red One. I don't know. When a villain kidnaps Santa Claus from the North Pole, an elf, an ELF, or extremely large and formidable operative, joins forces with the world's most accomplished tracker to find him and save Christmas. So that's the basic. I hope that's all a spoiler alert.
It sounds adorable. It sounds really fun.
Right. Well, you can go see it because it's coming out this Christmas, James, coming out this November. But big story this week in The Wrap by Humberto Gonzalez, all about how this movie that was Amazon MGM Studios, they were hoping it was going to be the first in a massive franchise of reinventing holiday mythologies, went out of control and ended up costing them $250 million to make. And the reason, reportedly, I was really surprised to read this, but I was gripped because I don't know. I don't know why I love stories of movies going off the rails, but it just, I don't know.
I
Been
think
there
we
once or
should
twice.
point that one.
The Rock apparently has a chronic lateness problem, was never on set more than 4 or 5 hours late, and sometimes didn't even show up at all.
That's not good.
Right?
Yes, I would hear that he'd have like a 7 a.m. call time and he would wander in at 3 p.m. and still have to go into hair and makeup. Yes.
Yes. And,
Well, he
and
doesn't
so
have hair.
and there's a detail that connects this with the previous story. He, instead of using the bathroom, he would pee into a bottle, specifically a Voss water bottle, which he would then just leave around.
Voss water bottle?
Voss water bottles, which he would leave around for people to clean up after him.
I'm not saying this about The Rock, but I'm saying that kind of behavior makes you wonder what else is going on in that person's life. It feels like more than just a chronic lateness peeing in a bottle problem.
But it's so surprising, isn't it? Because he's got such a reputation of being a lovely person.
He is America's sweetheart.
The hardest working.
President. He is somebody that every boy looked up to. He's had an amazing career. And
guys, I've met The Rock. Were you there?
Yes, beautiful skin.
Beautiful skin. All I was going to say was beautiful skin. Just beautiful skin. I spent time with The Rock, and this is what I know about him. Beautiful, beautiful, silky, moist.
I was there, and I was like, I couldn't speak. I was just like,
I'm wearing The Rock's deodorant right now, and it's called Papa Tui.
I popped the Tui just thinking about The Rock.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting too, because didn't The Rock accuse Vin Diesel of being a candy ass, back in the Fast and Furious?
A many years long feud, but also recently there was a blind item that talked about an actress who went through a horrible situation on set with an actor who was very abusive towards her, and all arrows sort of point towards it being The Rock. And so I guess, he's reinventing himself for the Trumpian age.
Well, let's see. There was so that no one's really seen anything of this movie. They unveiled 10 minutes at Comic-Con, but the only journalists were allowed to see it, apparently, were hand-selected by The Rock's publicist, and they weren't allowed to write about what they saw. So it's like,
it doesn't really feel like a movie critics need to talk about.
Right. Well, I guess.
It feels like it's a high concept, good feel movie,
But I'm sort of the mind that I want it to earn $1 billion. I want it to sort of overcome all these obstacles.
Well, Titanic did, so anything's possible.
Exactly. Heaven's Gate did not, but
right. All right. Let's take one more break, and then we'll come back for number one thing this week that made us go,
wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake. We've been counting down the top 10 things of the week that make us go wow. This week's number one is a very
personal, self-serving,
but yes,
narcissistic.
Very excited to launch a new series on WOWPresents, which World of Wonder did not make. It's a new original made by ITV America and a number of other production companies, and it's behind the scenes of the house of Miyake Mugler, one of the preeminent ballroom houses out of New York. And it follows them as they juggle the competition and duke it out with each other in New York's ballroom scene.
And the name of the show is
House on Fire.
And James, what did you think the name of the show was?
House of Hidden Fires? Wait,
you said Fire in the Hole. When we
Fire in the Hole! Fire in the Hole!
Which, by the way, would have been a better title, but House of Fire. We've taken Drag Race and put it in the studio, and it's spectacular, and there is a showbiz part to it. This has it too, but this is more documentary, more behind the scenes, it's grittier. The characters are fantastic. And again, it had to be good because I know that Randy and Fenton acquire very few things. You know, we're a production company. We do most of our own production, but and you guys like having your own voice, and as you should, and your own vision being respected. So this one must have really caught your eye.
I was going to say that one of the fascinating things is that so much of what we see on Drag Race and drag culture now comes from the ballroom scene, and it's nice to go back to your roots and to see so much of how that scene is navigating the current drag scene of today. It's just I'm fascinated by all of it.
Well, and I'm fascinated to see what the ball scene is like in 2024 compared to, because everything you see is from the early 90s.
Paris is Burning.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like Paris is Burning, I think you'll love this. And it is absolutely a modern take on it. And I just think that ITV America, Good Company, and Heyman Productions just did an amazing job. And the characters, Youssef Mugler and Exotic Mugler, the leaders of the household, are just fabulous, gorgeous, beautiful, funny, dramatic characters. So
And Ari Kolber, who's an amazing producer, who's worked on Drag Race year after year after year. One season, he was like, "I can't work with you guys. I have an offer I can't refuse," and it was ironically to produce this series. So I'm so glad that we get to. So it's a small world, and there's overlap. And Ari, who's a wonderful guy and a really talented producer, is one of the brilliant people behind this. So
awesome.
And that launches May 15th, I think I'm right in saying.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm very
House on Fire on WOW Presents Plus, and you can sign up for WOW Presents Plus at WOWPresentsPlus.com.
I have a homework assignment for all of us. Hacks just came back season 3 with Gene Smart. So let's all watch this week, and we'll do a whole show about Hacks. I love Hacks.
I love that. Okay, yes. That's all we got time for. Thanks for listening.
Until then,
brain farts, cake
Until
farts.
next week.
Go out.
Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.
Wow.